to just go ahead and jumpstart this conversation. So I am here today with an amazing real estate attorney, Ms. Shara Kamal. And one of the things that we decided to do was to partner with some of the partners that I work with on a consistent basis to bring you some more information as it relates to purchasing your first home, your investment property, your second home, and all of the above. And so today, we're going to focus on the importance of having a real estate attorney. And so, Shara, we were just kind of quickly dialoguing just around the fact that there are so many buyers in the market. The market is extremely busy. And one of the ways that, buyers can secure their real estate transaction is to make sure that they are working with an actual real estate attorney, not an attorney that specializes in a different type of practice. And so, if you could kind of just share with us a little bit about, number one, yourself, how long you've been in the business, but then also just kind of give our audience maybe three things that, only a real estate attorney can do inside of a real estate transaction.
Well, thank you for having me, Cecelia.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
I'm in my mobile office waiting to go into a closing, so you've got me in the car, but I definitely, thank you so much for allowing me to share my expertise with your audience. I've been practicing law for 17 years now, and my focus has always been, for the most part, real estate closings, and as a fallout from that, evictions, building violation matters, business formation for a lot of my clients who are investors and want to protect their personal assets. Also thinking through business succession planning, those types of things, but always the focus has been, the center of it has been real estate, representing clients on real estate matters. To answer the question, you are so right that, you absolutely need a real estate attorney to represent you if you are in the midst of a real estate transaction. You want someone who specializes in real estate because there are so many scenarios that can occur on a deal, right? Every single deal is different.
Absolutely.
And someone with expertise in the area of real estate will know and have experience around those areas that come up inevitably. I've been practicing 17 years, and every single deal is different. There are scenarios that I have not seen before, but know how to work around because of my experience, and have the resources to be able to guide clients through hiccups that might come in a transaction. So you want someone who's well-versed around those areas, and that is experienced enough to have seen a wide variety of scenarios such that they can advise you properly. Someone who's practicing or specializes in a different area is not going to know how to guide you. While they might know legal theory, they may not have the experience in practice. So you want to work with someone who is well-versed in the area of practice that you're seeking representation in. Three things that you should really think through in terms of how your attorney can service you. Only your real estate attorney can modify your contract after you have signed it. So you present the offer, the seller accepts the offer. At that point, you're under contract. You have a fully executed contract. But most contracts provide for an attorney review period. That period is governed by the terms of the contract. So most contracts say 5 business days. 5 business days following seller's acceptance of the contract. You want your attorney, and only your attorney, can modify the terms of that agreement.
So I'm going to pause you for 1 second there.
Yes.
Because I feel like a lot of buyers feel like during that attorney review period, while they are definitely in communication with the attorney, oftentimes they are also speaking with their real estate broker. And so can you speak to the difference between what has happened at that point when they have that executed contract, and why you are the one that would need to then modify, if any modifications are to take place at that time, versus the real estate broker that actually wrote up the offer?
Sure. So the real estate broker is able to fill in blanks on the what's most widely used, the multi-board real estate contract. I think we're on 7.0 now. The real estate broker can fill in those blanks, but they can't make modifications to that agreement. So they can talk through and help you understand the offer that you're presenting. But once it's been fully executed and signed off, accepted by the other side, you're under contract. So you're actually in a contract, a binding agreement. At that point, you'll want to get with your attorney as soon as possible, not on the 5th business day. If at all possible, you want to get with your attorney as soon as possible, have them discuss any questions, go over the legal ramifications for anything that might be in that contract. If you have questions and want to make some adjustments, at that point, you'll want your attorney to prepare what's called an attorney review letter and present that to the seller side if you're the buyer. If you're the seller, the opposite, to the buyer side. But that's when you'll want your attorney to prepare the attorney review letter and address specifically those items that you want to modify in the contract. And it has to be done during the attorney review period, not on the 6th business day. Has to be by the 5th business day. Okay, and then negotiations can go on. In the multi-board contract, it's 10 business days. Following acceptance of the seller's acceptance of the contract, you have 10 business days to negotiate terms, but you have 5 business days to present those requested modifications. Keep in mind as well, your inspection period is running along the same timeline. So you've got a lot going on during that 5 business days, and it's easy to miss a deadline because you have so much going on in the early stages. Things go very quickly. And that's why it's so important to have your attorney kind of working in the background to make sure that you're comfortable with those terms, because that's going to govern how the process flows through closing. It's based on the terms of that contract. So if you're not comfortable or satisfied with whatever happens at the closing, most often it's because the contract wasn't modified to your liking and not in your best interest. So you want to watch that time period very closely and make sure you have competent counsel advising you during that time.
Wonderful. The other question that I wanted to ask you that comes up a lot when a buyer is under contract is contingency. So the contingency dates as well as the contract closing date, and the things where you would fit into the process as it relates to if the loan needs to be moved out in terms of the buyer conditions being fulfilled, or even possibly seller conditions being fulfilled in a timely manner to get us to the closing table, and how important that is inside of the actual real estate transaction and as it relates to the contract itself.
Sure. So your attorney is, again, the only one who can make those modifications if you need extensions to those critical contingency timeframes. And it's also the inspection period. If you want more time to complete your inspection, and I've seen this happen a lot where you're still working out some other terms of the agreement, buyer doesn't want to pay for an inspection yet because they're not comfortable quite yet with the terms, that we request an extension of the inspection period. And when we start extending those dates, we may need more time for financing, because I've had a lot of buyers who don't want to pay for an appraisal if we're still working through inspection things, right? Or if there's still critical items that you need to work through with financing, then we will request an extension of the mortgage contingency period, which is the time frame that the buyer has to secure financing, to secure a loan commitment. And even after that commitment is issued, that doesn't mean you're clear to close. But clients, call me all the time. Hey, why'd you request an extension when I have a commitment? Well, you have a commitment subject to some conditions, right? So we're not ready just yet to go to the closing table and sign documents. We still need a little bit more time to get that clear to close, which is your lender's green light that we can schedule the closing. You can go to the table, sign your closing documents, and get those keys. So only the attorney should be requesting those extensions for the inspection period, the mortgage contingency period, and the closing date. That's a good number 2. Why you need a real estate attorney, those things that only your real estate attorney can do. And then, at the closing, your real estate attorney, your attorney should be the only one there representing you going through your closing documents. It's not required that you have an attorney represent you, but a real estate transaction is probably one of the largest transactions that you'll engage in your life. Okay, you want an attorney there to go through those documents with you. Real estate transactions are so emotional. As you go through the process, they're so emotional. And when you're at the table, you can even imagine when someone's waiting for their keys, they've got furniture, they're planning to move in, they're ready to get on with their life. You got a lot going on, things going through your mind. You're not, sometimes you're not able to really grasp the gravity of what it is that you're signing and the obligation that you're taking on. So you really want to make sure you have someone competent at the table to work through any remaining issues that might still be there to wrap up, but also to go through those critical loan documents, to go through the seller's documents, to really ensure that you're getting what you bargained for, right? You have that contract for a reason, and you want to make sure that those terms are settled at the settlement, at the closing, okay? So you need an attorney. You want an attorney, only an attorney, real estate attorney.
Real estate attorney. One of the things that I notice comes up at closing is from the front end of the conversation or the contract, and once the home inspection is done, from time to time, there are items that the seller will agree to complete prior to closing. And so one of the critical places at closing, of course, the buyer is going to do a final walkthrough, and at that point, they would be able to see if all of those items have been completed based on what was requested and agreed upon. And so as the real estate attorney, you are the one that is there to ensure, and I'm going to just use the word, enforce, that the seller has kept their commitment as well. And so, again, it is extremely important that, a real estate attorney is there to look at all of the legalese that, is involved in the real estate transaction as it relates to the actual contract from the time of acceptance all the way through to the time of closing. And I really, really appreciate you for coming on and for sharing some tidbits of information. I know that you are headed into a closing.
I know.
But before
that was a critical piece that you just shared there. I was actually just looking at my email a moment ago about closing at noon, and there's some final walkthrough issues that came up. A tip, last tip, and this is my parting tip, is that you don't wait until the day of closing to do your final walkthrough. It's good to make sure that everything is completed, but you want to give at least 24 hours, preferably a couple days prior to closing, to make sure that those, especially if it's a long list of repairs, you want to make sure that you give some time for the seller to address any remaining issues prior to closing, because some sellers do not allow an escrow holdback of their proceeds to guarantee that repairs are made following closing. And that might be the peace of mind, that money held back, that might be your peace of mind on that those repairs are going to be completed. So don't wait until the last minute to do your final walkthrough, and make sure that you communicate to your attorney prior to closing and not the day of, if at all possible, if there are issues that have not been addressed. If you are a first-time home buyer, I always recommend, if it's a long list of items, that we postpone the closing until those repairs are complete. Because once the seller gets their check, there's no guarantee those repairs are going to be made. And the worst case scenario is that you're going to be stuck with those repairs, and you need to be prepared to cover that cost if at all possible. You don't want to buy a home and have a laundry list of items to address if that's not what you anticipated. Because that can,
not fun.
right. It can be disastrous for a first-time home buyer.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. Well, if you would do us the courtesy of sharing with us how individuals can get in contact with you if they are on the buy or the sell side, or if they're looking for your services, that would
Sure. You can reach me online, SharaKamal.com, SHARA Kamal.com, or you can call me 630-756-3141. I'd love to, chat with you. I don't charge a consultation fee or anything. If you have questions, I am available to answer those questions. Thank you, Cecelia.
Thank you.
I always refer clients to you. I appreciate you.
Yes, I appreciate you as well. And we will see you back soon again on Tuesdays at 10ish. So thanks a bunch. Have a great closing. And talking with you soon.
All right.
Bye, Facebook.